There are games that don't just scare you, they follow you. Some make you turn off the lights, others make you check the hallway before going to the bathroom. And the worst part, when you think it's over, you still hear the sounds echoing inside your head. Today I bring you a selection of the best horror games that will make you wonder if you should keep playing or close the game and pray before sleeping. And just to be clear, this isn't a ranking. There are no first or last place. These are simply the titles that made me feel fear, tension and fascination the most. So don't worry if your favorite isn't here yet. But first, if you want to see more videos about famous and hidden horror games, subscribe so you don't miss the next ones. Let's begin. Outlast 2. In this sequel, you will leave behind the Islam corridors to venture into a remote desert where a fanatical cult believes the end of the world has already begun. You play as a journalist armed only with your camera, the only way to record the truth or drive riot. No weapons, no defense, just darkness, screams, and the beeping of a dying battery right when you need it most. The sound design is brutal. Outlast 2 doesn't just scare you, it psychologically breaks you. Alan Wake 2, modern masterpiece of psychological horror. Remedy has built a world that feels like a mix between a novel, a film, and a nightmare. Darkness is your enemy, and light is your only ally. Visually, it's stunning. Every reflection and every shadow feels like it has its own intent. The best part is how the game plays with you. The story rewrites itself as you go, as if you were trapped inside Alan's book. The duality between the two protagonists and the constant sense of being stuck in a narrative loop make Alan Wake 2 more than a game. It's an immersive descent into the darkness of the mind. Devil Within. From Shinji Mikami, the creator of Resident Evil, comes a game that blends action, psychological horror, and pure visual madness. You play as Detective Sebastian Castellanos, trapped in a world where reality itself is falling apart. Each enemy feels like something ripped out of Cliff Barker's nightmare. The tension never stops, forcing you to plan every bullet and every move. His twisted story leaves you with a sense that there is dark purpose behind everything. It's a game that left a mark on me, one of the best examples of modern horror, where every step feels like a victory against your own nerves. Observer System Redux. Here, fear moves into the future. You play as a cybernetic detective, brilliantly portrayed by Roger Howard, who can hack into the people's mind to solve crimes. But what you find inside those minds isn't always human. The environment blends decay and technology. A crumbling building full of flickering screens, cables, and half-human inhabitants. Each investigation turns into a disturbing journey through a memory madness and digital unknown. Visually, it's hypnotic. Neon lights glowing over filth, interference, distortions, and a soundtrack that keeps you in a state of constant. Observer redefines psychological horror. Here, monsters are made of data and guilt. Little Nightmare 3. A visual gem disguised as a twisted fairy tale. You play as a child trapped in a world of grotesque giants, living nightmares pulled from a broken dream. What's most unsettling is how it mixes innocence with horror. There is no dialogue, yet every movement and sound tells a story of fear and fragility. The gameplay combines platforming and puzzle-solving with a constant sense of danger. Each level feels like a shaky work of art. Kitchens where chefs are monsters, rooms where toys stare back at you. Little Nightmare 3 proves that horror doesn't always need blood. Sometimes it only needs to remind you how small you are in a merciless world. Silent Hill 2 Remake. The Return of a Legend. One of the most disturbing tales in a psychological horror is reborn with a breathtaking visual upgrade. James Sunderland returns to Silent Hill in search of deceased wife and finds something far darker. The remake keeps the opposite atmosphere of the original intact, with thicker fog, lighting that plays tricks on your sense, and creature designs that are as symbolic as they are terrifying. Every corner of the town carries emotional weight. Every shadow seems to watch you. Silent Hill 2 isn't just about the scares. It's about human torment, guilt, and sorrow. It's a story that breaks you from the inside and lingers long after you turn off the console. Dead Space Remake. Space horror at its finest. Isaac Clarke returns to the Ishimura, now more alive and more dead than ever. Metallic corridors, dim lights, and distant echoes create constant tension. The necromorphs are more detailed and terrifying than ever. Gameplay keeps its perfect balance between action and panic, while the realistic sound design makes every metallic scratch feel like it's right behind you. This remake doesn't just upgrade visuals, it enhances the story, dialogue, and atmosphere, creating a more cinematic and immersive experience. Dead Space isn't just a horror game, it's a masterclass in how to make fear breathe. Resident Evil 8 Village. Gothic terror, action, and mystery. From Lady Dimitrescu castle to Frozen Forest, every location feels like it belongs in a European horror film. The pacing is perfect, blending exploration, classic puzzles, and intense encounters with grotesque creatures. Capcom strikes a perfect balance between fear and adrenaline, with stunning visuals, memorable characters, and a story that powerfully expands the Resident Evil universe. And while everyone remembers Lady Dimitrescu, every corner of Village holds its own unique nightmare. It's proof that horror can be as beautiful as it's brutal.
Lycans and gentlemen, we thank you for waiting. And now let the games begin.
Amnesia: The Dark Descent, the pioneer of modern horror. No weapons, no visible enemies, only darkness, fear, and constant fragility. The game messes with your mind. The longer you stay in the dark, the faster you lose sanity. Shadows seem to move. Sounds deceive you. And you are never sure if what you hear is real or just inside your head. The sound design is so precise that every noise becomes a threat. Amnesia didn't just redefine survival horror, it changed how we feel fear in front of a screen. Fatal Frame: Maiden of Blackwater. A chillingly beautiful experience. Inspired by Japanese legends, Fatal Frame takes you through abandoned mansions, cursed temples, and fog-covered lakes filled with vengeful spirits. Your only defense is the camera obscura, an ancient camera capable of capturing ghosts, if you dare to look at them through the lens. Each encounter is a mix of panic and fascination, and his hastened aesthetic gives it a unique flavor compared to traditional Western horror. Weather, rain, reflections, and shadows make the fear here feel almost poetic. Fatal Frame reminds us that sometimes the deepest horror hides behind beautiful self. Each one of these games offers a different type of fear, psychological, atmospheric, or visceral. But they all have one thing in common. Once you play them, you will never be the same again.